Well, I am here with Rick Peckham, one of my guitar professors from Berklee College of Music, and I have to say, one of the most influential professors that I ran into in my 3 years there, really.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, just really inspired me a lot to keep playing the instrument and trying to get better at it, and so thank you for that.
It was a pleasure working with you. It's been a pleasure working with you. And yeah, I look forward to hearing what you do with all that you picked up at the place and in the whole town. I mean, it seems to me like you're really trying to light up the pinball machine as much as you can, and it's humbling to witness, and it's inspiring, to try to see what I can help add to it.
Oh, thank you so much. I just kind of started the series. I've interviewed a few friends and wanted to just talk with people who have had a big influence on my life and people who I look up to. And you're definitely in that group of people. So I'm super glad that you're here.
Well, thank
Um,
you. It means a lot to me.
where did you grow up?
I grew up in a town called Norwalk, Ohio.
Hmm.
It's sort of halfway between Cleveland, Ohio, and Toledo, Ohio. But if you haven't heard of those, it wouldn't mean very much. But it's sort of a cornfield kind of place, a town with 15,000 people in it, so a pretty small town.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's where I grew up.
How did you come by the guitar?
I saw people on TV playing the guitar, and that inspired me to want to get a guitar. I think I had a grandmother that gave me a just a guitar by definition only, really,
Hmm.
just like like a $13 Stella. That's what
Yeah.
they call that kind of guitar. So it was a real, a cheese cutter. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as so after I tried to play that, I think I maybe got a lesson or two, and somebody said, "Look, you need a different instrument." So I did get a different electric instrument. It was a Kalamazoo that was, and this would have been around 1968 or so. So to get to that Kalamazoo, you'd have to reach by, right, all of these, Stratocasters and Tellys that would be worth tens of thousands now.
All right.
But I got a Kalamazoo, which is a Gibson offshoot kind of thing, and it was a functional guitar, and I had a lot of fun learning. I had some lessons in a small music store with some people that were helping me, but the big thing was when I just started playing along with records and figuring out things that way.
Yeah. Do you remember any of the? You said mentioned seeing some guitars on TV. Do you remember any of those guitarists, like who they were?
Well, just seeing, we would watch the Ed Sullivan Show, so I was watching that night when the Beatles were on there, and I saw that, and I was completely mystified by that. I know a lot of people saw that as a lightning strike, that made it, this is exactly what I wanted to do. I saw it as interesting, but there was an endless parade of like the Rolling Stones and the Animals and all these things. And it was the sort of thing where our family would watch the Ed Sullivan Show no matter what it was. But a guitarist that inspired me, and my father was very interested in Chet Atkins. He said, "Well, if you were interested in guitar, that's real guitar." And to me, it wasn't exactly the guitar I was interested in.
Right.
But years later, I went back and studied that stuff
Hmm.
pretty hard too. So it's the Louis Armstrong quote: "There's only two types of music, good and bad." All the different styles. Guitar is a whole world. It's like a voice box, and you
Right.
can speak so many different languages on it. It's amazing.
Well, that's interesting. I guess I was also really inspired at the beginning by Chet through by way of
Hmm.
Tommy Emmanuel,
Oh,
because
sure.
I saw one of Tommy's videos when I was younger and was like, wow, this
Uh
is
huh.
amazing. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, he is a really a strong ambassador for the Chet Atkins style and demonstrate what a charismatic performer he is. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine as a young person seeing Tommy. I
Hmm.
mean, I could see how that changed things for you.
Yeah. I mean, that video, I just opened up a video of him playing classical gas and he just rips that one lick at the beginning and I was like immediately mesmerized.
Yeah.
But when did you know you wanted to teach? How did that come about?
When well, sort of the world showed me that I wanted to
Hmm.
teach. I was always trying to play in bands and bump around and do that. I mean, I was in Columbus, Ohio, I wasn't a music major at first because I knew I would never make any money with that, or that's what my parents said. So I took I took general education kind of stuff, and the music classes. I took every class at Ohio State University in Columbus that a non-major could take, functional piano and I forget the names of the classes or theory. And I knew that was the only thing I wanted to do. So while I was there too, there was a music store that I asked them if they needed somebody to teach lessons, and I just started teaching them. And to me, I get a charge out of working with somebody and helping them get to what they want to do. Just
Yeah.
really try to implement their growth. Really just try to make it so it's easier for them. Because I know what it's like to be in a room by myself trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you look down at the fretboard and it just looks right back at you.
Yes.
And
Now,
yeah, so I just, and that's what I've been doing ever since, really. I mean, I did that for a while and played in bands when I was in Columbus. And I played in a rock band in Cleveland. I would drive up to Cleveland and play in a sort of a punk kind of band, a new wave kind
oh
of thing.
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I just love playing. And I knew I didn't know enough to play jazz, but gradually, when I was at Ohio State, I started to learn more about jazz vocabulary and how to do it. And uh, the bands that were around there were interested in having a guitar, and it didn't bother them that much that I didn't know that much about jazz. So
Right.
it was sort of like a evolving thing. They could see I was into it,
Mhm.
and I would find a way to add to what they were doing. So, and the teaching thing just went right along with it all.
Well, the passion that you have for teaching is very apparent, and like that's one of the things that came across when I got to work with you. Was I definitely think there are great guitarists, but great guitarist doesn't necessarily mean that you are great at teaching guitar. You know what I mean? And I think you have a combination of both, which I find to be rare. And I don't know, that just really inspired me. The way that you look at the guitar is very original to you, I feel. How did you come across that? I guess who helped you shape your philosophy of this instrument?
Well, I had teachers along the way. I mean, there was Tom Carroll at Ohio State. He helped me. There was another teacher at Capital University there named Stan Smith. So I would just find anybody I could and take lessons with them,
Mhm.
whether it was part of a class or not, and just sort of trying to find different ways at chipping away at the stone to try to get closer myself. And what I appreciated in the teachers that I worked with the best is, well, I mean, there are different types of teachers. There are ones that just say, "Here, watch what I do, and see what you can get out of it." And then there are others that can say, "Well, this is how I do what I do."
Mhm.
And then there's another one and this is the one that I try to get into, is just try to see what you do and just figure out of the kind of the pharmacy of ideas, of medicines that I have, which one's going to make the most positive effect as soon as possible. I mean,
Right.
that's what I'm trying to do. And whenever I've run into a teacher like that, it's been a fantastic thing. Jack Peterson, that's Petersen at North Texas. He was a huge influence, and Dan Hurley passed away recently. He was at North Texas too. And Rich Madison, you could just see how on fire they were about music. And they were really less concerned about the specific vocabulary that they used and more about the passion about the music. So,
Right.
like if you can just pass the fire to somebody
Mhm.
else, they'll find a way to keep it going. And take that fire in any direction they want to whatever what they want it to do. So that's what I've always found inspiring, and that's what I've tried to emulate myself.
That's one thing I've noticed about you too is your ability to put your ego aside when you teach because, especially guitar players. I mean, I guess in any context really of education, Like, but I would say specifically guitar players, one of the things like we love this instrument, but a lot of us just don't want to practice. You know what I mean? Not that
Hmm.
we don't want to practice, but I think when we have a lot of energy put other places, a lot of times, shedding can get put to the side.
Hmm.
And one thing I noticed about you is that, I'll use myself as an example. When I came in and hadn't shed, I noticed that you always made it more about, how beneficial it would be to me to pick up the instrument and not your own personal frustration that I didn't come in knowing the information that you gave me. And I think that more than anything is a way better motivator to make me want to pick up the instrument than, like fussing at a student for not practicing. And you never did that. And so I really appreciated that about you. And how do you how do you what's that like? Because guitarists are very stubborn individuals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew a bit more of the whole picture. I mean, you were gigging,
Mhm.
you were working on writing songs, and you're a performer that sings as well. And I sort of caught wind of that. So I'm just trying to deal with the now.
Mhm.
It's not like what if, or like this is not the now I wanted. It's the now that's here. It's just
Right.
like right now,
Mhm.
it's gone.
Yeah.
And to me, what can we do with right now to make the most out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, in your particular example, I mean, the reason I didn't wig out about it is because I knew it wouldn't do any good. I just wanted to see how I could chip in to try to inspire you to do more outside of class things. Um, but curriculum that's being required on a particular level with a class name, it might not be the type of thing that will really ignite Eli at a
Mhm.
given time.
Yeah.
So my job as a teacher is to inspire inspiration.
Right.
And if I'm really doing it right, I'll get you to kind of go through that rocky road of getting the theoretical stuff under your fingers. But I know that the music that you're attracted to, it's going to pull you there eventually.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to help the student right now. That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do.
That makes sense, and I guess that's kind of speaking back to what you said about, so I think I've seen this in a lot of aspects of life. There's that sort of goal in mind,
Hmm.
and then there's a means to that end. And a lot of times people get locked into what that means to that end looks like,
Hmm.
and are very unable to shift and change and move to a path that may actually lead to that much faster and much more effectively.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I think as teachers go, and as a musician too, my brain is much more like a house cat. I mean, I don't have a house cat, but it just sort of scatters and goes around to different things. I'll just plow really deep into something, and I won't be able to explain exactly why, but I was inspired to do it. So again, when I run into a student like that, I try to push things back on the track if that's something that they're going to feel bad about later if they don't have together. But I identify with it, and I just like to see sparks.
Yeah.
When I see a spark, I want to turn it into a full
Yeah.
bonfire. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Yeah. I mean, really recently I've been dealing it's quite weird to me. I feel like I've spent a lot of time with the instrument and I still feel pretty illiterate at the instrument. But also, I don't know that that's a feeling that will ever fully leave me. I think I'll always, as an artist, I'll always be wanting to develop my language and like take it to the next level and express myself with more depth. And yeah, I'm trying to get over the idea of never having that feeling and instead reshape how I greet that feeling. You know what I mean? It's not use it as not let it bog me down, but let it be a motivator for me to practice and to like try to develop that language.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's the frustration. What I'm starting to realize now, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Mm.
I mean, it's just that this sort of thing that makes you want to move forward. There's there's the joy, there's the job, there's the burden. I mean, that's not a lick I had when we
Yeah.
were working together, but I recently heard a sports coach talking about it, performance coach.
Mhm.
And, there's the joy of having the instrument, there's the joy of playing with other musicians the first time. And then there's the job, there's a time when, oh, you've got to go do the gig and you don't really feel like doing the gig.
Mhm.
That starts to feel like a job. And then there's like, some stone cold frustration about
Yeah.
something that you're not able to do. But, that's the part of any pursuit, especially in a creative art, I think. I mean, everybody looks at it and they just see it as pure joy.
Mhm.
It's, you play music. You don't work music. You play a gig, you don't work a gig. Well, I guess some gigs you do.
Yeah.
But, this sort of like joy, job, and burden, and just really realizing that it's not wrong to be frustrated.
Right.
But, what it is, it's a little bit crazy to be in the same kind of corner. And you see, as a result of decisions that you've made to not work on something, it's like, like I want to be able to play a G triad over a C bass note. I want to play that all over the fretboard, and you never encounter it other than one little moment in a gig.
Right.
It's never going to get to the level that you want. I mean, this might be a sound that attracts you, and that you want to have as part of your music. So, you kind of owe it to yourself to declare focus on that particular thing,
Right.
and make it so it's sort of central to what you're doing, and just kind of be an adult about it. And another, like the joy, job, and burden, there's find, feel, and flow.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are just continually finding things that they think are pretty interesting, but they never do it long enough to make it so that they can feel it. They can't get to the point where it's sort of, they've got to count fingers and strings to get there.
Yeah.
But that's the next step. And then flow, that's like the eternal thing, to just get to the point where you're sort of transcending the music, and you've just integrated this sound that you find fascinating just right into the middle of an idea, and you don't know it until you listen to a recording later on that you're
Yeah.
doing it. But there's that joy, job, burden thing, and you get to choose. Like you're about to go down to New York, you are the focus of your own academy. Like, what is it that you're going to take from your time here with you? What are you going to
Right.
do with that? What are you going to keep in the rotation? What are you going to expand? These are a lot of people would see that as a point of frustration. To me, it's just inspiring. It's just like a bright horizon. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with the day?
Yeah. And I also, what you were saying about when you really find or really feel a sound, a new sound that you've been working on, and then it comes through and you're playing, can always be a really cool moment. I've also found that it can be another source of frustration when that sound seems to be all that's coming out at a certain, you seem to use it over and over and over. And I was gonna ask you actually, because I think a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of young guitarists is like people are very anti-transcribing right now.
Hmm.
And for those of you who don't know what transcribing is, it's just when we as musicians will take like solos from great musicians of the past, or just anyone really, solos that already exist, and we learn them on our instrument, and it's kind of a way that we get some of their language under our hands and borrow, shall we say, borrow some of their
Hmm.
ideas and but I hear this like sort of ethos of, oh, like if you transcribe, like everybody's transcribing Kurt, for instance, Kurt Rosenwinkel, and
Hmm.
like so everybody sounds like Kurt. So there's this like culture of like don't transcribe anybody, but instead sit with the instrument yourself and like create lines. And I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, well, here's another three-step thing. I mean, that this is from Clark Terry, a great trumpet player and a jazz educator. He played with Duke Ellington and other great jazz people and led things himself. And it's imitate, assimilate, innovate. Uh, Everybody has somebody that they imitated. I mean, that's the way it works. I mean, you talk about Kurt, there are people that he strongly emulated at the beginning. He might not have did transcriptions and put articles in magazines of these guitarists, but it was part of what he did. He also was there was a piano player, Jimmy Amati, in Philadelphia. He took piano lessons with that too. So he's always sort of like a breaking through typical paths that people pick. I mean, this imitate, assimilate, and innovate. I mean, everybody gets it from somebody else. But as far as the transcription and whether that's the in thing to do now, it's anything that's worth doing can be overdone.
Yeah.
You can, if you don't want to play anything that hasn't been played before, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And if you only want to navel gaze and just do stuff that you only you think of, that's kind of putting yourself in a cocoon. So oops, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
There's a balance that you have to strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know, Berkeley is a place with around 900 guitarists, and
Yeah.
people want to find the best guitarist, whatever that
Hmm.
means, in the best style, whatever that means, and be just like that person.
Hmm.
But that's not the way the world works. That's not the way art works. That's not the way real progress works. What you want to do is find out what excites you, what attracts you, and make that part of what you do. So, I think if you never transcribe anything, that's a mistake. And if you always transcribe and you do anything else, that's a mistake. You have to find out where you are in that spectrum and what it'll do. I mean, the main thing though is what is the music that I'll use you as an example, Eli. What do you want to play,
Hmm.
and what do you need to get there?
Right.
It's like gear acquisition syndrome. Guitarists joke about it. Gas.
Hmm.
It's a new thing comes out that is 5K now, and so you just buy it because
Yeah.
that's the newest best thing. So you can tell your friends that you got it. But what are you going to do with it? Do you really need that? And in the resources that you have, your money, do you want to buy that 5K monitor? Or, could you do it with a regular old 4K or whatever with what you want to do? And the thing that we don't think of as a resource is the one that's the most valuable, and that's the time that you have.
Hmm.
You know, and people, you do talk about, I was saying, you play music, you don't work music. What do you do with time? You spend time. You save time. How do you spend your time? How do you like to spend your time? I wasted my time with that. I mean, you talk about it the same as money.
Hmm.
So, if you're looking, again, to use that example of a G over C sound, like a 5/1 triad, and that's something that you've got prominently displayed in your song, and all you're doing is just playing up and down the arpeggio. Maybe it would be helpful to check out a Rosenwinkel thing or a Mark Turner thing, or a jazz player, or even like a pop. Listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. There's a great fake book called the Slick Book, and it has all of this music. It's a Swedish book that anybody that's listening to this, you can just Google Slick, Slick, and what you get is a Swedish fake book. It reminds me of the old real book when I got it in the 1970s. But it's all this stuff like Earth, Wind, and Fire and Gino
Yeah.
Vanelli. And do you know this book?
Gino, I don't know the book, but I
Yeah.
love Gino Vanelli.
Yeah, so it's all spelled out there. It's kind of interesting because the note B natural in that book is an H, yeah, in the Northern European
Oh,
style.
okay.
Fortunately, in the Northern European style, they often have just B by itself, and that means B flat. Thank goodness they really put B flat there, but you do run into like an H over E. That's like a B triad over E bass note.
Hmm.
Anyway, just to see how it's used in conversation, jazz education is drowning in people talking about it's just learning a language. You just speak the language. You get immersed in it like a language. Everybody says it because it's kind of true, but the idea with transcription is, do you need a word to find that will express a sound? Maybe a great writer, like people that are involved with English composition listen, read great works, and not so that they can copy these people, but so they can see how other people have found their way, found their voice using the vocabulary.
Right, yeah, because you can always pick up those new words and use them in a way that's more your own. Never like completely original, but
Yeah, and your friends will call you on it when you're using a new word, and
yeah,
it's
yeah, a
like,
lot.
yeah, well, I was going to
Oh,
go in that store, but I was feeling pusillanimous.
yeah,
It's like,
this
what? Yeah,
guy.
what word did you just use? That doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah, and that is, you know what? Because I was just about to bring that up about the world of jazz and how much of an ego trip that can be to try and walk into that. And then when you said that, I realized that that really happens everywhere. I think in terms of like when you want to learn, when you want to learn something new and try something new. I mean, and it can really span across anything. Like if you want to, for me, I'm trying to wear new clothes that I really like, and I'm in my head so much about everything that I put on, and I think, but bringing it back to what I was saying about jazz, I find that genre one that I love so much and want to be a part of, but it's find it really intimidating too. There's a lot of big egos there, and it can be a pretty gate kept and vibey sort of environment.
Yeah, people do really. They have their castles with moats around them, and they
Hmm.
don't want anybody else in their territory. But again, it helps to listen to the world beyond your fellow crafts experts.
Hmm.
You have to, especially if you have access to audiences and you're performing for them and you're trying to find your voice and you can see what resonates with the audience. I mean, of course, you don't want to just purely go for reaction, but I do think it's a strength that you have, and to do something that is personal. Just I am not a fashion influencer, that's for sure. But it's a risk the first time. I mean, I remember doing well when Esperanza moved to town and Christian Scott. I mean, I did some gigs with them, and Christian Scott was wearing these designer coats, but he would wear them inside out. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, wow, this was not Rick World. I
Right,
mean,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but you could see the way he wore it. It took a certain confidence, in the
Yeah.
same way as when he played, it took a certain confidence for him to have that approach to chromaticism. It's lonely,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be surrounded by warm puppies and great feelings,
Yeah.
with what you're trying to do. Get ready to feel alone, and in a way that it can be alarming, but in another way it can show that you're going in your own territory. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Well, and it's really like that sort of feeling unseen in that. I think for me, I experience that more right now in terms of production and the songs that I release. I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. I think, you know, we make this music, and especially when it's our own music, it's our own baby, we see all these really specific, beautiful things about it, things that we remember, whether that's like, I don't know, whether that's little details of the production or the lyrics, or it could be just like the overall feeling of the song, ways that we feel about it. And when we share that work with people and they don't see the same things in it, that can be really disorienting, especially if it's something you put a lot of work into. And I think that's what I felt a lot of with when it comes to jazz too. It's hard because I agree with you a lot of times. We are really playing we are a lot of times really playing for um like the greats now, like like a lot of the stuff that we'd be working on, no one would notice except people who play jazz and
Mm-hmm.
people who play a lot of jazz, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that leaves me scratching my head, like why do I try, but I know I love the music and I love the art form, so
Well, yeah, I mean, you should just use what attracts you truly. I think as far in pursuit of craft, I mean, we really get to work on how to do something. But as far as an audience goes, and even musicians, whether they like it or not, our audience members, when other people are playing, audiences are more about how does it make me feel? I mean, how does it make me feel when I'm doing that? And that doesn't necessarily mean that Lydian Flat Seven, is the thing, but uh, I mean, that's what is being played. But Lydian Flat Seven doesn't mean anything to anybody unless you're making music out of it. And there's
Right.
some great moments in the music of, say, Earth, Wind, and Fire or Stevie Wonder or something like that, where that sound is used. Just a great effect. I mean, it makes you feel good. So it's a means to an end.
Hmm.
The idea is to use craft, not be just be a hostage of craft.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too, is I realize sometimes um it's okay not to shed, to be honest, for me. I think sometimes time spent away from the instrument is time at that moment is better spent than time with the instrument. I think I get it gain perspective. I think I gain respect for the instrument, and I kind of remember the reasons why I did it in the first place, which was to pick it up when I really felt like picking it up. And at some points that's all the time, and at other points that's not all the time, and
Hmm.
trying to get some other hobbies as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's about you as a person as well.
Hmm.
And I mean, again, if you're interested in composition and singing and playing the guitar and leading a band, I mean, those are all worlds, or producing on top of it, making
Hmm.
it so that, and then the recording as well. All of these things are separate worlds where people devote their whole lives.
Right.
So you got to give yourself a bit of a break.
Yeah.
If you're focusing on one particular area, that doesn't mean you're going to be completely on top of your game as far as, all the top aspects of all the rest. So it's a balancing act, and there's a trust involved, but, you're immersed in this world. I mean, you're immersed in this world, so give yourself some credit for that.
Right.
But the fact that, like scale performance or triad inversions and stuff like that are not right on the tip of your fingers at a given time, if it's important to you, dig in and do that. But
Right.
if you have those triads and you can play them the fastest and best, and anybody on the East Coast, what do you do with it? I mean, it's like special effects in a movie.
Right.
It's we've all seen movies that are just so drowning in special effects and there's no plot.
Yeah.
You got to have plot too. It's not just the special effects. There are people online that really only talk about effects though, and they're interested in it. And parts of the technology world are making it so those effects get more realistic and better than ever. But again, if you just have a movie that has special effects and that's it, nobody's going to that movie.
Right. And I've been loving this little short clip from Julian Lage,
Hmm.
and he talks about playing with dimension and just literally talking about um like thinking about things like note length and how hard you play the note, and even to the point of where as you form melodies, you get da 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 da, like making bringing a melody to the foreground, and then it's okay to maybe have a little melody that's tucked away back in the back. And I never really thought about it like that. And I realized that's because I always play with the same attack and the same sort of divisions I'm thinking in. And so I just think it's fascinating that the more and more I dig into this instrument, even now having played it for like, I don't know, like 15 years or something, it's just little simple stuff like that. And that's something that I can so quickly like take immediately to my playing and hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't agree. I mean, I've heard you play, and you don't just play with one dynamic level. I mean, you vary dynamics in what you're doing. You also vary the lengths. I mean, there are ways that you play phrases in your songs where we're messing with it. But as musicians, it's very easy for us to take everything that we already can do for granted.
Mm,
It
yeah.
just and you hear a charismatic performer like Julian Lage,
Mhm.
um, and you think, well, this is just awesome. This is so amazing, and I can't do any of that. And then he is very articulate and really just kind of I don't know, really kind of he has a gift for describing music in a way that people like to hear him talk about it.
Yeah.
It's really like a separate entire world that he's doing. I really don't think that that's what he's thinking when he's playing. I think
Right.
he's interacting with the music and the musicians at the time, and he just is brilliant enough as far as expressing himself in prose, the way he talks, that that's exciting to musicians too. But it'd be interesting to have a conversation with him about
Yeah.
that. But my money would be that he's not thinking all that
Yeah.
stuff, just saying, "Oh, I think I should vary the length. Oh, what I just played there, the length was not varied enough. The phrases, attack, sustain, decay, release on every
Yeah.
note. I mean, that's something that's there, but that is trust the poem, not the
Yeah.
poet.
Yeah.
And the poet, in his case, is an extraordinarily articulate person.
Well, it's interesting that you say that too because it is weird. I think I'm at this crossroads of um starting to take some of this guitar stuff very literally in to what you were saying about how maybe when Julian Lodge is playing, he's not thinking, okay, I'm gonna use like, Lydian dominant here or whatever. But I think there are some aspects of live performance where very literal, like recollection, making yourself think about certain things is really helpful. One of the places that I've been working on that with my band is dynamics and listening to each other,
Uh huh.
and like trying to remind them before the set to say, while we are playing, like there should be times in our heads where we should be literally saying, "Oh, am I listening to my bandmates?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, like you were saying, you're totally right. Whenever we as performers get on stage, we go into that autopilot and we move away from that find, and we're more in the feel and the flow. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
that third state that you were kind of talking about, just playing and expressing. And I think sometimes there's a lot to be said for the more intellectual stopping and making. And I say this because it's something I really have to make myself do. I have to make myself remember while I'm playing. Am I really listening to like my drummer, for instance? Am I don't, because we have, it's weird. We have, I guess, I don't know, it's almost like seeing with your ears, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? It's like you can hear something in the background, but then you can also like really be intently listening into something. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something I've been working on a lot, and I think that's been changing the sound of the band too, for the
Yeah,
better.
well, I know a lot of teachers talk about the importance of listening
Hmm.
too while you're performing. But to me, what I would recommend is you take it to that next level. How do you know when somebody is listening to you? They react to what you just said.
Right.
And to me, it's like, what is the drummer doing? Um, and what can I do to show that I'm listening?
Yeah.
It's basically, what I would say is kind of show that you're listening by what you play,
Yeah.
either by leaving space for it or answer it. Sort of like,
Right.
oh, tell me more about that. I mean, just play something. It's like, what a cool drum thing that you're doing. Tell me more about that, and
Yeah.
just leaving more space that's there for the drummer to get in there. To if the is the drummer emphasizing a taka ta taka ta taka ta?
Right.
Is it like a triplet thing or takadimi takadimi? Is it all eighth notes or
Yeah.
16th notes kind of thing? And what can you put in your solo that's different? I mean, to me, that's the thing. The real proof that the band is listening. I mean, the listening is the means, but the end of it all is you hear something that sounds more like a dialogue, other than a line of people that are just showing that they are the best player in town.
Right.
That
Right.
kind of
Right.
thing. So. How is the conversation? That's the kind of thing. How rich is the conversation? What if you go takara, have you da da like that? Is the drummer in there like that, or I mean, telling you pa da da, like answering that, or is it like a loop, a garage
Yeah.
band loop, where there is this sort of cool kind of trance-like thing when somebody plays a pattern over and over again, but information theory tells us that the more you hear the same thing over and over again, the less it means each time.
Right.
So, the great thing about live musicians and playing with live musicians is you get to react to each other. There's nothing you can play on a loop that's going to get the loop to change,
Right. Right. Right.
you know? And That's the thing. I mean, when you're listening, and again, I know from hearing your music and playing with you myself that you do you can break out of it and get that more. And to me, that's another thing that is interesting for a listener to hear, rather than just what a tight band they are. They don't make any mistakes. It's just you know this just seems like there is the word gestalt. There's the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, making it so that it's just a result that couldn't happen with any other combination of musicians,
Right.
and it's right now. I mean that is super exciting.
And with the in terms of listening, I think it's also can be frustrating when I'm at this point where I think my ear is at a different point than my facilities, let's say, on the guitar.
Hmm.
So I'm struggling in terms of harmony, in terms of harmony now as opposed to rhythm, I guess. But um, I'm I'm struggling because now I hear my mistakes,
Hmm.
which is a blessing and a curse. You know what I mean? I think in being here and gaining some theory knowledge, it's a lot of times it's a matter of a half step. Almost always it's a matter of a half step, right? Just is it like the flat seven or the major seven? And when I'm playing, just being able to hear that now, and it sticks out so bad to me when I play a quote unquote wrong note, and so like I don't know. It just I think it's a superpower in a way when you're able to start hearing that stuff. But then if you're not keeping up with it, in, uh, in terms of your knowledge of the fretboard, then it can be pretty disorienting.
Well, I mean, yeah, to me, yeah, that makes me think of a whole bunch of things. But number one is it's great that you see that at that point, but back to the thing about how the audience feels. I mean, we've all seen a guitarist make a mistake and see them react like they've hit the third rail on the tee. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like a 220-volt shock.
yeah,
And it doesn't make you feel good as an audience member. It certainly doesn't make the guitar player feel good. So to me, another magic of recording is you can reserve judgment for later.
yeah.
When you're performing, I mean, you're in a different phase at that point. And what I would urge you to do is that's not a time when you're going to be able to fix that. You can't fix now.
Right,
If now is a mistake, but another one of my things that I say over and over again is a mistake is only bad if you don't learn from it.
mm,
So, but I'm not saying you should learn on the stand with that. I think you should record whenever you're performing and then go back and see what's going on there and just, like the Matrix, you can freeze that moment in
right,
time. Like, you see an arrow coming at your head and you can
yeah,
just sort of move your head out of the way.
yeah,
Magically, you're still safe. Um, with a recording, you can really just say, okay, what's going on with that major seven on the dominant chord? I mean, I know it can work sometimes. It's not working there.
yeah,
So you break it down. I mean, again, it's like a Groundhog Day kind of moment. You're going to play the same song in a different town, in the same part of the set probably. You might play the same mistake again. It's like, oh, there it is again. See, to me, that's a mistake that you're not making the most of the opportunity. You want to fix it later. You can't. Or you can fix it in a recording, but the next time you perform, that's you fill it with gold.
right,
It's like a musical cavity in your mouth.
yeah,
It's you know you find the problem. You don't say, well, I've got 31 teeth that are fine. That's almost 32. You find the problem, you drill it, and you fill it with gold.
yeah. I
It's
think
cheesy, but it's true.
no, I think that's one of the places where I'd like to work some is going back to those old recordings of and I do listen back to them sometimes, and I hear those breakthrough moments where I play something I've seemingly never played before, or maybe I just played it in a context I had never played it before, and it really excites me, and I want to take those sounds and develop those so that I have them under my fingers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's good to get inspired to go different places, but yeah, that's the higher calling
Yeah,
is listen to your performance and that that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. Sometimes it's very helpful to have a friend that's with you,
Mhm.
and you say, this sounds like it's me. It's not somebody else, and they'll say, well, no, it's this thus and
Yeah.
such a player, or this is part of a Wayne Shorter song, or something like
Yeah.
that, or just fill in the blank. Um, but yeah, that is something that is like a an espresso bean,
Yeah.
and you can make the best coffee ever out of that, or that's the way it can be, or you can just let it sit there. So you can make mistakes and let them sit there, and you're endlessly repeating them from then on. You can take these key moments that are really showing you what is inside you as a musician and build from them. I mean, to me, some people would call that practice, but to me, that's sort of like building on what you got, and it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense, and the world is not going to reinforce those moments. Say,
Mm.
congratulations for fixing that major seven on that chord.
Yeah.
But over time, it's sort of like adding to Eli, who Eli the musician is, and how Eli is able to get through this seemingly difficult minefield of changes. So that sounds great. Or you're adding interesting sounds on top of static changes, things that are
Yeah.
very kind of plain, but what you're playing on top of it makes it exciting. There are just so many options when you sit down with the instrument, especially with tracks, and you write something new and you figure out what to do with it. It's to me, it's a circle that should never be broken.
Yeah. I'm interested to know, through your career, have you found yourself more in situations of being sort of the hired gun, or in traditional bands that are working together, sharing the workload, whether that be booking or band managerial duties? What situations have you found yourself in the most?
At different times, I mean, when I was in Texas working with Jack Peterson and playing in bands there would always be somebody else that was setting up the gig, and I would be kind of a hired gun.
Hmm.
And I would do all kinds of gigs. I would do banjo gigs. I would
Oh
do
wow.
sort of like studio things, pit band things I did down there, and I would do jazz things and I would do fusion things. But when I moved to Boston, I found out that was five different people
Yeah.
that had those things,
Right.
and
Right.
that was, and they had it down cold. So
Hmm.
I had to work to kind of find a niche, and people started to call me. I didn't really set up gigs until I made an album called Left End with Jim Black and Tony Shear on it from around 2005, and that's sort of where I put everything together with that. Um, but I have, to me, that was just so much work. And at that time, I got deeper into teaching online classes and designing those sorts of things, which have been awesome for me, but not as much for the gigging kind of stuff or leading things. So right about now, I'm starting to think about leading some things some more. But my experience really is just answering an email, getting a bunch of MP3s, and working up the songs and
Hmm.
getting ready to do the gig. I mean, that's what I would do, or just showing up and seeing what happens and try to build some stuff. I played with Hal Crook's band for about 11 years, and the pinnacle of that was an album called Stray Dog by the band That was the name of it, with John Medeski as a guest. I mean, it was, and to go down in New York and do that, but I wasn't involved with setting any of that up.
Right.
I
Right.
just was involved with, worried about sounding good on that thing, and
Yeah.
it was that was the challenge.
Yeah, I just asked because it's kind of something I'm navigating right now is figuring out, how to share the workload as a band, I mean, right now I take on most all of the managerial duties of the band, and um, it's interesting because it is another facet of knowledge that you have to have. It's not, I don't, and I think one of the problems is that so many musicians are not, their brain doesn't lie within that sort of like type A, like emailing, being organized, being
Hmm.
having things on time, and um, so it can be a challenge.
That's for sure. I mean, I mean, one thing I would say is sometimes people are tempted to call it a co-op where
Hmm.
everybody is kind of contributing. But in my experience, whenever it's a co op, when there's a genuine opportunity for money or something like that, you see it's really not a co-op.
Mhm.
There's somebody that's the leader.
Yeah.
And what I would say to Eli Industries, I mean, just personal to you, you're the leader. You can get other people to help as far as implementing it, the gigs and promoting them and all that kind of stuff. And it's tiring and all that stuff. But I wouldn't spread out the creative credit or responsibilities with others because you and I both know it's you. So, and that's different for different people. Like if you're a professional side person, you're looking for opportunities to make other people's material sound great. I mean,
Right.
that's a different thing. Or you've got if well, I mean, to me, I would embrace the specialization of others and use
Right.
these things. Don't go broke with it, but
Right.
I
Right.
mean, make it so use the help.
Yeah. And I see, because I think, I don't think you're dismissing the value of collaboration, but rather saying that at the end of the day, especially when it comes to a band, it's all of this wide information, inspiration from all these artists is usually flowing through one central path, which is band leader or whoever is like kind of arranging and finalizing these things and putting them together. Which is, you're right, a lot, so much work, and that's something I want to start outsourcing though soon, as soon as I can, and find some people in New York who I really resonate with and who love the same type of music, and um, yeah, and hopefully focus more on just like playing and
Yeah, well,
writing.
people that are emerging from Berkeley
Mhm.
uh, that want to collaborate with others, you get into kind of these relationships where you have compositions with
Mhm.
more than one person. I think you have to look at that pretty practically, and uh, you're a creative person that's going to come up with some great stuff. I'm
Yeah.
sure you are. If you are collaborating with somebody, just sort of say, okay, we're writing something together, but this would be the two of us together, right?
Yeah.
Rather than you go and see somebody that seems to be a mentor and you add a whole bunch to what they're writing and they say, well, that was just me. I mean, that wouldn't feel good either, right?
Yeah.
And or right or legally correct, but it's kind of good to. I'm not saying to spoil the game by knowing the rules, but if you're collaborating, make it clear that you're collaborating.
Right.
And if you're the leader, make it clear you're the leader. People like it better that way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you've liked it that way. But when you're the leader, I think it can feel like, wow, I'm doing everything
Yeah.
here.
It can
And,
feel lonely. Yeah. Like you were
huh?
saying before, it can feel
Yeah.
pretty lonely as well.
Yeah, but if you're looking at the long ball as far as, well, this is the kind of thing, I'll get other people to support me later
Mhm.
on with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the joy, the job, the burden. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way it works. And it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's what everybody that's doing something worthwhile is doing. There just are not endless waves of warm reinforcement coming from the world when you're
Yeah.
doing these things.
I wanted to ask you too. I had this sort of random question, but just off the top of your head, if Rick Peckham could only choose one texture on the guitar to use for the rest of your life that you have to use over every tune, what texture would you use? What sound would it be?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I had to just choose one, I think it'd be like a warm, clean sound. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it would be. Like maybe a tiny bit of edge on it. I mean, as
Yeah.
far as a little bit of distortion, but something that wouldn't break up if I played chords too. I mean, to me, I like the sound of a warm guitar, like something that sounds like a classic, like a 65 deluxe Fender amp, which I have, and either a Les Paul or a Tele with it. So, clean with a little bit of edge is what I would have to live with. But it's fun to experiment with the others, but it's like the essential elements. It's like an acoustic piano.
Right.
Acoustic piano players aren't always looking for finding an envelope follower
Yeah.
or a flanger or something like that.
Yeah. I
What
just
about you? What would you say?
I just got my little Hot Rod DeVille over here. I love
Yeah,
that thing just straight through,
yeah,
a little bit of drive on it. I love it.
yeah.
And
It's a truth machine. It's
yeah,
great.
exactly, exactly. And if you could only pick one harmonic texture to use in all you're playing over every tune, what one if you just had one that you could roll with? I have a
Har-
guess as to what you might say, but I would
harmonic texture? You mean like?
like you got to pick one sound, like one not necessarily one scale, but yeah, like
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I had to pick one, I mean, it would be. I would just try to cheat and just say, well, dominant seventh. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, that would be the sound, and then I could experiment with all the different ways of sounding
right.
on top of that.
I
Um,
thought you might say the pentatonic scale.
oh yeah, well, pentatonic, yeah, that's so universal,
Yeah,
and I get deeper into that. Yeah,
yeah,
well, and it's a fun game that musicians play.
yeah,
Who's better, this musician or this musician?
yeah.
It's like, well, I say it's this musician. No, it's not. It's this one. And well, again, back to this Dan Hurley, a person I met at North Texas State, and fantastic professor who passed away about a year and a half ago. He said, well, he was talking about who's better, Sonny Rollins or John Coltrane. And he said, isn't it great that you don't have to choose? You've got both of them.
Yeah,
You've got both of them. So you just bounce. You just
yeah,
go back and forth. You just kind of vibrate between those two poles, and the
yeah,
same thing like pentatonics with dominant chords, or pentatonics with all the melodic minor stuff that you
mm,
and I talked about. I mean, it's you kind of confine yourself to something to make it so that you can break it open.
yeah. And it's kind of that whole more than one thing can be true at the same time. In
Yeah.
terms of that, like you were talking about, who's the bigger choice? Well, it is that you don't have to pick because there's different facets to each one, and at different times you can have opinions about. You can lean this way and that way at one time. So
Yeah, well, I just think just try to get into what you're listening to now. I mean, if you're
yeah,
choosing to go in a different direction, listen to it, immerse in that. I mean, for the longest time, I knew that Lester Young was a great tenor saxophonist, but it's only recently that I've been able to sort of listen through the technology of the recording and really hear the player and hear
yeah,
the influence and appreciate the difference of Lester Young, who came into a world that only wanted to hear people play tenor saxophone like Coleman Hawkins. He turned it sideways. I mean, he literally turned the horn sideways.
yeah,
But I mean, his way of phrasing, his use of triplets, all that kind of stuff. So there were times in my life when I just would listen to that and it would just sound like old scratchy 40s music. But now
hmm,
I listen to it and I'm listening through that and just hearing the stuff that's in there, and it's the more you immerse yourself in music, the more it pays you back. I mean,
yeah,
I just love. I'm not talking financially. I'm just talking about, like the higher calling of the art. I mean, it just really reaches into your head and just inspires you.
yeah. New meaning within something that's been there the whole time and that we've been working with.
Right. And, people talk about enjoying themselves. I mean, it's the same recording I'm listening to, and many times the same speakers I was listening
Mm.
to, but I'm enjoying the difference in myself. It's,
Right,
it's
right.
like knowing that there's a great book that you read when you were 15, and now going back and reading it again. The words are precise. It might even be the same book, and you're enjoying it. Well, you're literally enjoying the difference between yourself when you first read it and now. I mean,
Yeah.
that music has that capacity too.
Yeah, like my like home never changing and that being so weird and feeling, but then at the same time it gives you that perspective when you go back and nothing's changed but you have, then that becomes so much more apparent.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I guess you could get anxious about it, but I mean, to me, it's just sort of a thing. Get sort of curious and just move on.
Right. Well, somehow we've been talking for over an hour already, but just
Yeah.
wanted to thank you so much for coming over and chatting with me. And wanted to say to anybody who's listening, you've been listening to me talking with Rick Peckham, guitar professor at Berklee College of Music, just one of the most influential individuals I ran into there. Had just a huge impact on my playing and a solid guy. And I highly recommend you grab one of his labs or grab private instruction with him when you're signing up for classes. There'll be a lot of Berkeley kids listening to this. So also too, if you wanted to shout out, like what kind of stuff are you doing these coming semesters?
Well, I've got I continue to do private lessons, but I also have a lab for the pentatonics. I focus in on pentatonics.
Aaron loved that. He said
Oh
that
yeah,
just like cracked him open, and he just
yeah.
like that was all he was shedding. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, and he said that San Trin, I mean, that he was deep into that book
yeah,
too, and that material. I also teach the guitar harmony class for that. There's a book called Modal Voicings for guitar, and I have a lab that happens, I think, in the fall semester or the spring semester. I also teach an improv class that's kind of jazz rock fusion kind of stuff, and I kind of go in the direction that the students that are in that class where what they're into. And I also teach an online class called Guitar Berkeley Guitar Chords 101 and Berkeley Guitar Chords 201. Actually, I brought a book
oh,
for you, yeah, for this. This is a book that just came out in at the in June, I guess.
oh, thank you
So
so
yeah,
much.
sure,
Thank you.
yeah, and yeah. So I continue to try to make things interesting and easy to pick up. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and you do such a great job at that. I hope you know that. Like, really, just so thankful to have ran into you.
Yeah, well, and thank you for thinking of doing this format.
Yeah,
It's really fun to come over here and do this, and, and
yeah,
and we just jumped right on it. I
yes,
love
sir.
it, man. This is so great.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I genuinely hope that we'll cross paths soon.
Me too, and
Yes, sir.
I wish you all the best in what's coming up, and all the best in the music that I know you're going to explore and that people are going to enjoy.
Well, thank you so much. Y'all been listening to Rick Peckham. Hope you will stick around for the next episode. Thank you guys. Thanks so much.